here with.
Your co-host, Santi Hernandez.
And on today's show, it's going to be an important show because I think we've never done a show about relationships, but we have talked about domestic abuse, right?
Yes, with Maya.
Yes, Maya. And so today we want to give more awareness of domestic violence awareness month. So that's what we're doing today's show. At least for the first half, we'll be talking about domestic abuse, and then the next half, we'll talk more about relationships. And so, just to start, I wanted to do an icebreaker. Santi, what is your favorite food?
That is a great and a very tricky question because I love homemade foods. That would be my all-time favorite type of food. Mm-hmm. But if you ask me, on a special occasion, what type of food would you like there to be? There's recado, which is Guatemalan. Mm-hmm. It's like mole or curry, similar. And I really like pupusas. Like pupusas are a must for me. I love pupusa, and my brother's girlfriend is from El Salvador, and she makes pupusa for us, and I feel so lucky.
That's so nice.
Yeah, but what about you?
I'd say if it was back then, I would say pupusas.
Okay.
But because I don't know, I think I'm lactose intolerant. I don't know. But I would also say lasagna, even though it has cheese. I feel like I don't know. If I eat pupusas, I eat a lot, and the pupusas that I eat have a lot of cheese, which I like.
Okay.
So that's why it's going to be my second choice, but I would say lasagna from Amy's, if you know. The vegetable lasagna, if you know.
From Amy's. Amy's what?
Just Amy's.
Amy's, where is that?
It's
or is that made?
It's frozen.
Oh, okay.
It's frozen.
Oh, I was so confused. Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I love freshly made food too. It's just what I'm craving right now. So yeah, that's my favorite food. But yeah, why don't we start with how did Domestic Violence Awareness Month start? And we can say that it was launched nationwide in October 1987 as a way to connect and unite individuals and organizations working on domestic violence issues while raising awareness for those issues. So it's been quite a while. It's been 30 years and more about this awareness month, particularly for domestic abuse. And they've seen a lot of progress and support. They have supported a lot of victims and survivors and held accountable of abusers. So it's really good to see progress in domestic, the whole nonprofits and everything that is preventing from tragedy. So yeah, it's really nice. I can't believe it's been 30 years. But I've so far heard it I think 3 years ago that there was an awareness month about it. But I think it's really cool to bring more awareness to our viewers about this. And yeah.
I have a question. To start off, and then the audience as well can ask themselves this question.
Sure.
When you hear domestic violence or domestic abuse, do you know what it is? Do you know your rights regarding that?
What do you mean by rights?
Do you know exactly? Do you know your rights? Okay, so let's say let me read the definition of what domestic violence is. So domestic violence is an abuse one person commits against another person who is their current or former spouse, current or former dating partner, co-parent of children, current or former cohabitant, or current or former fiance. And so a lot of people don't know, but domestic violence is a crime. And which is why I asked you, do you know your rights regarding what that looks like, right? What classifies a domestic violence? To my own question is, in my household, specifically in my mom's side, domestic violence was a very huge thing in her family. So for a long time, it just kind of seemed normal. That, oh, he hit the wife or she hit the husband, just kind of like normal. But here in America, you have rights. And a lot of us don't know that our rights when being in a relationship, right?
Yeah.
So before we talk about the red signs and all of the stuff, I do want to read a couple, if it's okay with you, a couple points
Yeah.
of you're right. You have the right to be treated be treated with respect by your partner, not take responsibility for your partner's abusive behavior, get angry or say no, but not to be threatened or use force against your partner except in self-defense. Make mistakes, change your mind, have your own feelings, opinions, and convictions and express them freely. Have your needs be as important as your partner's needs. Spend time with your family, friends without being accused or pressured by your partner. Negotiate for exchange in the relationship. Ask for help or emotional support. Protest unfair treatment or criticism. So those are all rights that you have. Just keeping that in mind, and then we can dive in to when those rights are violated, right? With that being said, do you want to continue?
Yeah, for sure. When you asked me that question, I would say like it correlates with violence, right? So, if the person's being violent, then I would say that's like domestic abuse, whether it be in a relationship. And I think you've said like, I think you said about your family, and I feel like that really kind of gets involved with machismo in a way in the families. And I've also experienced that like personally within my family, but like also like my family back in Guatemala, it's been like they take it normal. It's like, oh yeah, they hit the woman, but like it's not acceptable, you know what I'm saying?
There's no action taken.
Yeah. And here it's more strict, but in Guatemala it's not really. It's just,
Yeah, I mean that's why I wanted to bring up like the rights in a relationship, and it's kind of weird to say the rights in a relationship because you are like you're willingly committing to someone, and it's kind of weird to be like, what are my rights in a relationship? It's really strange to say that even coming from my mouth. But I think the concept of being respected as a human, as a person, as a human being is so important. So when it comes to violence, it's hard. And especially for, so that's one thing, right? The abuse within relationships.
but within family, it's like,
Within families, it's interesting when you are the one witnessing that pain. And there's a lot of youth in our community that witness their parents being abusive to one another or one being abusive to the other parent, which is really hard. And at times it affects your personal feelings and mood because no one wants to watch their mother suffer or their father. And then when you're a teenager, you start getting into that feelings of liking someone and possibly having your first relationship, and it's hard to know what's normal, what's right, what's not right in a relationship, right? And even with friendships, but we're talking specifically about loving relationship with a significant other. So
yeah. Can I
yeah, go ahead.
I was like trying to look up, but I can't find it right now. But I remember like seeing, and I believe it's still like true that Marin County is like the number one in cases of domestic abuse in California. So it's like very common, and unfortunately, it's like really sad news. But like anyone watching who's experiencing it right now, just know there's help and you're not alone. And it can be scary at first, calling out for help, but it gets better after that. So yeah, and like if you need any help, we're always here to give you guys out resources and throughout the show, we'll give more resources about it. And we can move on with the red signs versus abusive signs, if that's fine with you.
Yeah.
Unless you wanted to add something.
No, I just wanted to also include, I think, which I mentioned a little bit before, that part when you're in the stage of, so it's very different for different people, but usually a lot of teenagers start getting into, youth relationships with your first time boyfriend, your first time girlfriend. And it can go in two different ways. Some people can be very sweet and kind, and then sometimes you'll face different people with different emotions. So I do want to talk about domestic violence in youth. And it sounds crazy to think that there are those type of relationships, but these are actually, I pulled them from the Center of Domestic Peace, and these are the youth. How nearly 1.5 million high school students nationwide experience physical abuse from dating a partner in a single year. 1 in 3 adolescents or teenagers in the U.S. is a victim of physical, sexual, emotional, or verbal abuse from a dating partner, a figure that far exceeds rates of other types of youth violence. And 1 in 10 high school student has been purposefully hit, slapped, or physically hurt by a boyfriend or girlfriend. So just to put it out there, that if you're experiencing that as a youth, and it might be crazy, like, oh, you're not old enough to have that type of experience. There are many reports, and these are statistics that have been studied by people, that there's a lot of youth who experience domestic violence in high school, college, which is really sad to me to hear that. And I think we said it, I don't remember if it was in the Maya show where we mentioned that in Marin County, the number one case here or incident in Marin County was domestic violence. I do remember that. So I'm backing you up because I do remember that. So just for everybody to know that is something that happens, and then moving on to the red sign and abusive signs.
So like you said, there's a lot of youth who go through that, but many might not know that's like when they go through a relationship, they don't know like what's a red sign, and or it might be an abusive sign. So I wanted to go over that. And so red signs is like, I feel like abusive signs, the difference from them is like the abusive is like being more physical, and red sign is like maybe something that you don't want to, like red sign is like something that can break your relationship, or like there's yellow signs that like can make or break your relationship, but red signs is more serious. So one of the examples of a red sign is frequent lying. If your partner is lying to you, that's like losing trust. I don't know, how would you feel, Santi, if your partner frequently lied to you? It's a hard question, but
no, I think that there's a difference between lying. For example, if your partner
a white lie.
If if your partner is trying to surprise you or do something for you, and reminder that domestic violence, violence in general, it can be with a partner. But if you're physically experiencing things from family members as well, it's included with violence. But like I was saying, that if my parents or they're trying to surprise me with something, they're constantly lying, and I'm like kind of sneaky or like suspicious about it. That's very different from when, let's say they're going out every night and they're not home, and you ask them, what are you doing? Or like, I'm at work, and you know that they're not working. So something is off. Then I definitely think that I wouldn't feel good being lied to.
Yeah, so that's one of the red signs. According to like an article, I think a lot of people have different red signs. It just depends on how you take it. And so another one is constant put downs. An example that was given on the website was, this is quote unquote, "You're lucky I'm still with you because you'll never do better than me." Oh, that's like, like what is up with them? But like that would be a put down. And that doesn't sound good, and I feel like the person is very conceited, if that's the right word. But yeah, like you should have someone who respects you and loves you, for who you are. And yeah, did you want to add?
No, I think that is a good example of mentally abusive. That part of saying that you'll never find someone that loves you the way I love you. And it's like, I'll give you an example that could tie in. Let's say you have a boyfriend and the boyfriend slaps you and he apologizes and said, I'm so sorry. It wasn't my intention. Just remember that I love you, and that if you go out there, nobody's going to love you the way I love you. And so they're validating the slap with I love you and no one else is going to love you. So that is the slapping is physical, but that mental abuse is tricking your mind saying, oh, he loves me. So it's kind of crazy.
Like it was an accident.
It was an accident. Yeah, exactly.
I feel like once they slap you, like they're going to continue doing that. I feel like, at least for me, if a guy slaps me, that's like the done. Like I'm done with you. Like I'm not talking to you. Yeah. Because I feel like if they do that, then if they don't respect you at that moment, they won't respect you later on. So, yeah. And then the third example is an unwillingness to compromise. The fourth one, I'm going to just go quickly on this one. A tendency to run away from difficult discussions. And I feel like that is really important, that you have good communication with your relationship. And if you lack communication, I feel like it's going to be very hard for you to sustain that relationship. And then the fifth one is controlling behavior and excessive jealousy. I feel like a sign, this is like kind of similar to a sign to like abusive sign, like where like you share the password and they're like, now that you don't want to share your password or you change the password, they're gonna think that like you're like cheating on them and stuff like that. And that's like, I feel like excessive jealousy just because you don't want to share your password in your phone. Do you have a different opinion on it, or what do you think?
On which one?
On any of them. Because it seems like you're like,
No. I was just thinking in my head the scenarios that would happen in my head. No, I think so you said the
controlling behavior.
Yeah, so I wanted to stop there. Controlling behavior, what does that look like? And maybe a lot of you guys don't know what that looks like. For example, let's say as a girl, I'm going to put myself in from my perspective and put it out there. Let's say I wore an outfit, a dress or shorts, and my partner would say, you can't wear that. Unless I'm with you, or you can't wear that at all. So that is a bit of controlling. Also, controlling can look like you can't go see your family, you can't go out with your friends.
And they like literally have you locked down.
Yeah,
you know?
So that would be controlling. And you gave also an example of the jealousy part. I think there's always good jealousy. As in a relationship, where I think it's like necessary in a way sometimes. Not necessary. At times, like when your partner is jealous, like it makes you feel kind of, but that over jealous part where they constantly want you to know where you are. Like if you're at the store, where are you? I'm doing this. Or like, what time will I get home? In 5 minutes. And if you don't arrive in 5 minutes, they go crazy. That is an excessive controlling jealousy. And I always say this with passwords on your phone. Your phone is like a whole identity. It's like a lot of information that you keep. And for example, my phone is always used for work and for the work that I do, filming, photography, Tay, and everything. So I really have nothing to hide, but my personal photos would be the one thing I say. But I've heard a lot of people share their like Instagram, Facebook passwords with their partner. And I don't think I would ever do that. I mean, I definitely would, like, if you need it, but I don't feel comfortable someone watching my conversations. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what if I have a conversation with my mom or my dad, and I don't know, I just don't feel comfortable in that way.
Right.
But, just having, I think that there's a trust when you have a good, healthy relationship with someone. You have a understanding. Like, I won't hide my password, but, they will be there. But you don't, because I know people sometimes like, oh, my person sees my Instagram account like constantly, I'm like, whoa, that kind of gives you a little bit of, at least for me.
Yeah,
But just having a good, healthy relationship is communication. Sorry,
Yeah.
I cut you off.
No, you're good. Thank you for giving those examples. And I just wanted to move on to like abusive sides, because I think we like made it like kind of similar to red sides. But one example of abusive sign is like they're telling you that you never do anything right. So that's like more mentally abusive. I feel like I think it's kind of similar to like constant put downs, but I feel like red signs is kind of mixed in with abusive signs. Just that it has physical abuse with it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but that's my thought of it. But the next one is preventing or discouraging you from spending time with your friends and family. That's kind of similar, like what we said. Extreme jealousy, which we already mentioned. Preventing you from making your own decisions, including about working and attending school. Like that's more a lot of mental abuse. And then controlling finances in the household without discussion. When I read this, I just like it popped in my head that there was some of the victims, unfortunately, like their partner is the one who has all the financial. They're controlling all the financial stuff. So when it comes to like they want to the victim wants to leave the abuser, it's gonna be very hard.
Oh.
Because they have no job, right? Because the abuser prohibited. Is that how you say it? Prohibited the abuser. I mean the victim to get a job, and so it's very hard for them to like leave. But that's why there's like resources. I think. Let's see, Center for Domestic Peace. They sometimes I think they're still doing it, but they used to like give a few days in the hotel to stay until like they find a new place, and they help them.
Yeah, they have an emergency shelter. Mm-hmm. And do you want me to say the number right now, or do you want me to go say it after?
Why don't you say it right now?
Okay, so the emergency shelter and legal systems advocacy, you can call at 415-924-6616. But again, the emergency hotline for if you're in danger at any time is 415-924-6616. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And I've been with Maya, and so I remember like they would offer. I think for families, they would offer like a hotel to stay. And so, yeah, if you believe that like, well, I think every victim, there's resources out there, even if your abuser is controlling all the money, like you can get back on your feet. Because that's something that's very like a lot in the mind of the victim, because they're probably thinking, how am I supposed to like afford rent, like the expenses and stuff like that. And there's resources to help you, and it will get better after that. So yeah, and then there's other ones like pressuring you to do drugs or alcohol. Doing threatening looks, insulting your parents, intimidating you with weapons like guns, and other ones, and then destroying your belongings or your home. Like, I feel like them showing something to like scare you or threaten you is like a very strong sign that they're being abusive. But yeah, that's like what I wanted to go over. Hopefully I didn't bore you guys, but I'm hoping that helped you guys see how red signs and abusive signs are like some signs that are important to you to watch out for when you're in a relationship.
It's a bit like to listen to. It's like it might be hard to listen to, but it's really important for us to share the red signs. And also just remember that when you're in a relationship, it should be about respect, communication, and acceptance. And if you feel that you're in a relationship with someone where they're not doing any of that and you're afraid of doing things, it's just always good to rethink about your current situation and know that you're not alone. I think the financial part that you said, for a lot of families who have kids, it's really hard to leave an abusive relationship because they know that it's not just them. There's babies in the middle. And just know that for Marin County, we have Center of Domestic Peace, and they are here to help you. They are fighting to protect families against domestic violence. And I'll say it again, domestic violence from a partner is a crime. It's not correct. And so with that being said, I want to give out, legally you have the right to. I'm going to list about 5 things that you're legally have the right to. And it's call the police and other support agencies. Center for Domestic Peace is one, and call 911. Hide yourself and your children for protection from your violent partner, even if your partner is their parent. A lot of families, when suffering domestic violence, kids will put themselves as a barrier to protect their mother or father. And sometimes abusive partners don't care, and they abuse the entire family, and that's really hard. So if you're in a current situation, and even if you are a sibling and you see that there is domestic violence going on in your household, you have the right to take your siblings and hide. And you have the right to call 911 and supporting agencies too, and say, hey, this is going on with me and my siblings. You refuse sexual activity at any time. This is such a big thing. Consent is so important in a relationship. If you don't feel right about having any type of sexual activity with your partner, even though they're your partner, you have the right to say no. And they can't force you. I mean, they shouldn't force you, but there are people who will. And it's sad, which is why you have the right to all the time say no. Even if you're a guy, you have the right to say no. Make decisions about your productive health without your partner's permission. This is a very, very interesting one, especially in our communities right now. But you have, your body is your body. No one should tell you what to do with it. But in a relationship, I think it gets complicated because that should be talked about within the relationship, but keeping in mind that no one can force you to do something. Live free of violence and threats. So let's say you want to go out with your friends. If your partner says you're not allowed to, if you go out, like, I will, let's say, lock the cards and you won't be able to use the cards, or you won't be able to visit your family if you go with your friends. And threats are like, if you leave me, this is actually a very interesting one. If you leave me, I will hurt myself. That is a big one in a lot of relationships. So you have the right to live free from that. Like, that shouldn't be the case. Equal protection of the laws against domestic violence, even if in some way you have broken a law, such as using drugs, driving without a license, or entering the country illegally. I'm going to stop with the illegally part. The rights of immigrants who are victims of domestic violence. In this country, domestic violence or child abuse is a crime. Even if it's not a crime in your country of origin, which, going back in a lot of Latin countries, Latin American countries, it's become part of embedded into the culture right, in the background. If you are an undocumented immigrant and you are a victim of crime in this country, you have the same right as a U.S. citizen to access services for crime victims. This means that if you're confronting domestic violence and you want help, you will not be deported just because you called the authorities or made a police report. You cannot be deported for trying to get a restraining order or to testify in court. You cannot be deported for asking for help from shelters or a crisis line. Also, if your spouse is a United States resident or citizen, you are a victim of abuse, you may be eligible for U.S. residency without your abusive partner through VAMA. Even if you aren't married to a United States resident or citizens, but you have worked with the police or the DA, you might be eligible for U visa. So this basically ties in, and I want to say it out here because a lot of Latino families won't say anything because they are afraid that they will be sent back to their countries, which is not true. You have a lot of rights, and that will be able to protect you during this is a crime. So if you're here, you have the same rights. And if you are denied by any means, just remember that you do have the right to those. Do you want to continue?
No, I want to say, thank you so much for, giving those resources, because I think there's a lot of immigrants that, do not say anything, and I think they're the ones that need the most help, because, sometimes, as immigrants, they don't know, what they can do with, what's restricted and what's not, with their rights, and it's amazing how they have rights to call the police, or if they need help when they're in a situation of domestic abuse. But I think we're gonna do a break because the time has gone by so fast. But yeah, and then we'll be right back. We'll be playing a song by Ismael Laura. And I'm sure you guys have heard of him before, but we'll be playing Walking Stores. And we'll be right back.
With you by my side. Yeah. In the whip, thinking of your smile and your perfect laugh. I know you're still alive, cause I feel presidency next to me with you by my side. I'm indestructible, more powerful. I'm gonna make you proud, saying I don't wanna one south. Fast tracking through the Golden Gate, trying to get home a pie. I know everything's gonna be alright. This last week I seen you in my dream, and you said it's ain't bye. You said don't shed no more tears. I just want you to know these sparkling tears contain core memories and spark the projection from the fondest memories of my life. Each tear's a flashback. Each tear runs down my face like a half bag. I celebrate them. This path I was meant for. Pain and lessons, gifts from the heavens, no longer question. They strain my bond, my sons, so we don't commit the same mistakes in the streets. Cold game to transform darks to light. We meant for to help the spark they shine. I was made for. I am king. Gradual unconditional love is what evolved my wings. This is how I flew out of eternal purgatory, changing my patterns to aviate to fly patterns, moving through the cosmos like the Green Lantern. With you by my side, I'm afraid to fly. With you by my side, I feel the urgency to truly live life. With you by my side, I understand we don't ever really die. We walk in stars destined to rise. We rise.
Okay, wait, sorry. I was just testing it out, but hopefully you guys liked the song. It's from Ismael Laura, and we wanted to go back to how to not be a bystander. So a bystander is someone basically saying someone experiencing domestic abuse or being a person being abusive to another person and not doing anything. That's what a bystander is. And I think the opposite is active bystander. So someone who does something when they see something that's wrong. But I was looking on some resources, and they always recommend to do the ABC first and then intervene or whatever that you need to do. And I wanted to really quickly go over the ABCs. And the ABCs with A starts with access for safety. So if you see someone in trouble, ask yourself if you can help safely in any way. Remember, your personal safety is a priority. Never put yourself at risk. And then B is be in a group. It's safer to call out behavior or intervene in a group. If this is not an option, report it to others who can act. This can be like a supervisor in your school, or someone, let's say like you're in a club, and you can ask for security guards. That's just an example. And then C is for care for the victim. Talk to the person who you think may need help. Ask them if they're okay. And if they say no, then and if they do need help, and if you're willing to help, that would be really nice to help the victim. And there's a lot of different ways where you can help. You can do direct action. You can, if you're in a group, you can go and ask him what the person who's being violent. Ask them what are they doing, or if they can stop. You can distract them by saying, like, hey, you forgot your jacket over there, or do you want a drink, to the abuser, so they can be distracted, and then the victim can walk away or run. And then there's delegate. I kind of forgot that one, but it's like another way to, I think, just like talk to them. Well, for delegate, it says a person sent or authorized to represent others. So that's kind of similar to, like I said before, to bring like a supervisor. And then there's delay, where you can delay the abuser from like going to the victim. And in any emergency, you can call 911, but that's only if there's an emergency, because I think you would want to have consent with the victim for that. But that's how to be more of an active bystander. And we've done a video actually of how to not be a bystander, and it's on our reels on Instagram if you guys want to see it. It's like a year ago we did it. So yeah, and we wanted to give more resources that Santi can provide, right?
Yeah, well, thank you so much for sharing all of that. And I think everything that we've been saying is very important, and being a bystander is also crucial because you can save a whole family.
An active bystander.
Sorry, what did I say?
You said a bystander.
My bad. What I was saying was that,
Yes.
but the video did remind me of things that could have been taught to my mom, but even if she knew them, like, it wouldn't have done anything back home. But here is very different. So the fact that we have all this information, if you know someone who's currently going through that, it's okay to share. It's important to share all of this. So with that being said, these are I'm going to list three resources that you can find out more information, and our production team will put them in the
On Facebook comments,
yes,
or YouTube.
So Love is Respect is an organization that is filled with information about healthy relationships if you're currently going through personal safety issues with your partner. And it's great because it's in Spanish as well. And I hope that they include more languages. One of the things that is very interesting nowadays, and you mentioned it before, is the passwords of the phone. And if you currently are in a relationship that your partner constantly checks your browsing history, what you're doing. So this site, I found it very interesting because right when you open the site, it says, leave the site safely, and there's an automatic little icon that has an X with an exit. If you click it, it automatically takes you to Google search to kind of erase what you were watching. So let's say if a partner is going by, right away you click that and it goes back to the Google search. So protecting families out there. But you can go and search up more. Love is Respect. There's a lot of resources about dating. When your family doesn't approve of your partner, what would you do? Scenarios, how to end an unhealthy relationship. All of those resources are out there. So you're welcome to share those with family and friends who need those. And I also have this, it's called One Love's Breakup Guide PDF. And this was created by the Center of Domestic Peace. And so if you click on that, it has it's 4 pages of what is a safety plan, why is it important, it's okay to ask for help, tips for breaking up with a partner, pre-breakup for high school students, pre-breakup for college students, pre-breakup for adults, pre-breakup planning with a family, post-breakup planning, and then so many other things that are there for you when you're currently leaving a relationship. And then, of course, we have Center for Domestic Peace, and you can search that up. I think this one might be wrong, but Center for Domestic Peace is local, and they offer great resources if you're currently in a situation. So again, their 24-hour hotline is 415-924-6616. And there's therapy and sporting groups from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Monday through Friday. You can call the number 415-526-2553. Again, 415-526-2253 to ask more about those therapy and sport groups. And there are walk-in assistants at 734 8th Street, San Rafael, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. from Monday through Friday. And again, they are there and will guide you if in the best way possible that they can. And again, just remembering that your safety and the ones of your kids is important, and that when you leave a household that is with so much abuse, it might be scary, it might be impossible to move forward by yourself, but it is possible. And know that there are people out there who survive and who dedicate hours and hours to provide resources to help you get out of those relationships. So you're not alone. I will repeat that over and over, because it's way better for you to leave than stay in a place where you cannot be who you are.
Yeah. So hopefully you guys liked, hopefully you guys learned something and found it very helpful. And we just wanted to, I know this topic is very heavy, and we wanted to even it out with talking more about relationships. So for the first question, we were thinking how did you make friends at school, and was it easy for you? Did you want to start?
Sure. It was really hard for me to make friends at the beginning, especially coming here, not speaking English and not speaking a lot of Spanish. But my first ever friend that I made in the U.S., her name is Nelly Maldonado. I actually do remember that name. The first person was very sweet to me and came up to me and said, "Hola," and she spoke Spanish, which was she'll always be someone in my memory that I always remember. But during school, I've actually struggled a lot with friends. I've had friends come in and go, and it was very hard for me. I think I'm very attached to people in a way. You're my friend, and I really get bond. I'm all in. So when they leave, it's hard for me to accept in some ways. And so that has been an interesting thing for me. So I've had I've had friends come in and go, but I can talk to people. If I have to, I'll make a conversation. It's easy for me. Yeah. But I wouldn't say making friends at school was super easy for me.
Interesting.
What about you?
I I would say like I lived in Guatemala for a year when I was 5. I was like 4 years old, but then I came back at 5 years old, and it was kind of hard. I was like kind of nervous at first to go back to school, and I haven't like really spoke English for like a year. So like at that time I was like kind of nervous to meet friends, but there was cool people who like came up to me and talked to me, and so that's how I made friends. And yeah, like in elementary school it was kind of rough. I had like problems with my friends for some reason. We would come and had fights, and then the yard duty would always be involved.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I remember like crying because I was getting bullied. I was bullying them. Like it was a whole mess. But like fifth year of elementary school, we all like settled down and were like friends. So it was all chill. I guess like we were putting competitions and being in a club, you have to do certain stuff, and it was just all over. But after that I moved, and I'm giving you guys like my whole story of school. But after that I was like growing to be more comfortable talking to new people, and so middle school I was more comfortable leaving my original group friends and meeting new people. And so for me it was kind of hard to stay in a certain group. I loved going back and forth, going to different friend groups, just because everyone is different and unique, and they're all special to me. So that's why it was interesting when you said that it was hard for you to see a friend leave. At least for me, I like try to catch up or like touch with my previous friends, but it's like once in a while. But yeah, I personally love meeting new people, so like I don't really have like a problem with friends meeting new people, because I see their perspective, and like meeting new people is cool. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, no, I wanted to go back. I think for me, it was really hard to accept the fact that I sometimes didn't fit in anymore. And that it was okay to walk away.
Yeah.
And it was sometimes me who walked away.
Yeah.
But it hurt me walking away. But it's also that idea and understanding that friends come and go. Like my brother recently told me, your friends, no, he said, all your life you're going to deal with relationships. It won't ever end, right? You'll have people come in and go, and sometimes if you're lucky, not lucky, I wouldn't say lucky, but sometimes you'll have one friend that will stay with you for a lifetime, and that's amazing. But others, you'll come in and go, which is totally fine. And he's like, you have to understand that is part of life. And that was so hard for me to understand. Like I'm very emotional. Like I have a really strong attitude or personality, but I'm also very soft, and that part of like my friends going, but never in like if I see them I'll make them faces or like I want to like I see you, I'll say hi to you, because that's respecting you as a human being. But sometimes you just grow out of that specific thing, or you're getting into different things that your friend isn't interested in. So you have to break up in a way.
I like when you were mentioning, I was like remembering that like when I broke up with my friends when I came back in 7th grade, it was like hard because like I thought they were gonna be my friends for like my whole life, but we just grew out. I think it was like, I don't know, it was awkward to like talk back to them, but like there's certain friends where you don't see them for a year and you get right back into it, and nothing happened like in those years. But it just depends on your friend group, how you are, and there's a saying like tell me who your friends are and I'll tell you who you are.
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
100% agree with that quote. Yeah.
So I feel like as you're evolving, you're finding yourself, and then you're finding new friends. So it's really, it's all about life. I don't know.
Yeah, and it's crazy because if you go back and not compare, like I'm doing way better than them, more of like where they are and you are, and you're like, I could never be in that
Right.
environment because that's not who I am now.
Right.
So
right.
it's like, in a way, it's like when you grow up and realize, you're like, oh,
That's
had
why.
to happen.
Yeah,
that
that's
had to happen. But in that moment, it's like your world is crumbling apart.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on with how can I communicate better with my family and friends? Do you want to go?
No, you can start on that one.
Okay, let me think that. Okay, I personally think that, at least for me, I'm like always going on my go. Like I usually don't take my time to sit down with my family. But if I wanted to communicate with them, I would say like, hey, can I have a moment to talk, or set up a day, like let's say Sunday, to like hang out, or not hang out, but like spend time with my family or friends. And that's how I would say how I can communicate better, or something that I just don't like. I would say, hey, I'm not comfortable with this, or I try to like compromise with my friends, but if I'm not feeling comfortable doing something, then I won't do it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I would communicate better with my family and friends.
I really want to sneeze, by the way. I'm like, I want to
Holding it in.
But that's such an interesting question, because well, let's start with one. Family. As you grow up, you start having your own identity. I think for a big part of your childhood, you have your own identity, but always under the wings of your parents, of your family. But when you grow up, there are certain things that you like that your family might not like, and that you're starting to fly on your own. And communication comes in where it's very crucial to have communication with your parents so you can have a good, healthy relationship. In my case, like I said, you might not notice it, but I have a really harsh personality. And when I say that, I mean that I don't like being bossed around. I just don't like it. I have always been against that. So your tone and the way you communicate with me is so important, which is why I bump heads with my mom a lot, especially back in the day. And my relationship with her has evolved over the years. But one thing I've learned, and I always ask myself, why did I have to go through that with my mom? But I realized that it has bonded us way more than ever with her. But there were times where she didn't agree with what I liked, and it was constant back and forth.
That's so funny. That's literally me on my mom.
So one of the things that I've learned with communication is letting her know how I feel. Like my mom knows that how I feel about certain tones. So I always tell her, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. When you give it to me in a very strong, very strong, I'll react because it's like, it's not, to me, to my personality, it doesn't like it. So I'll let her know. And she'll also let me know, hey, as a mother, this is what I want. And so when you express what she wants, and I express what I want, there's a mutual
like compromise. Like if you're going to do this, then you need to like follow through with this too.
Yeah, it's like you're gonna need this. Your action has an outcome, no matter what. So having that communication with your parents, and like I said, it's different. You can't apply the same thing to your father and mother because they have sometimes very different personalities.
They have like I would say like different communications.
Yeah. Like my dad understands my personality in a way, and he sits down and talks. And my mom is more of a yelly person. Which is fine. And I also sometimes do things with my dad that should be with my mom. And so the communication is so important, so that really your mom and dad, even if you're in jail, they will still be your mom and dad, no matter what. Your friends, on the other hand, they'll come in and go. Your mom is your mom and your dad is your dad. And so building a strong relationship with them is super important. And I understand that there are families where that's really hard. That on the other end, it's really hard for them to have mutual. So you just have to understand that, understand them, understand their history, their past, and also just understanding yourself too. Love and respect yourself. And then with friends, boundaries. You got to know your boundaries too. And in any relationship, actually.
Yeah.
Knowing your boundaries, so then when you communicate with them, they can understand that it's not you being mean, it's not you being rude. It's saying, this is a boundary of mine. For example, that could be alcohol. Like, your friends might like to drink, but in your end, you might not like it. And you say, I don't want to drink. And you communicate with them. That's totally your decision. And if that's something you want to do, that's on you. But that's not something I want to do. And communicating to them, like, I really appreciate it for you not to force it onto because I won't and I don't want to.
Yeah.
And I, as a friend, I would really appreciate if you understood and respected that. So you're communicating that. And if the person doesn't want to respect that, then, you know,
they're not their friends.
Yeah, find other friends.
Like, yeah, I was going to say, like, peer pressure. Like, if your friends are peer pressuring you, then they're not real friends. Like, they should respect your boundaries just like you're respecting their boundaries. So I feel like as a friend, you should be comfortable to say no, or letting them know your boundaries, because I feel like it should feel like a safe place when you're talking with your friends and hanging out with your friends. But yeah, I like how you went over communicating with your family, and when you said like some people don't get along with your family, they can be like, they can have friends who act like their family, and it's like vice versa. So like anything that like she said, I feel like it can apply to your friends too, about like having good communication. And I feel like having good communication will make your bond or your relationship stronger, like you said with your mother, how it, like, the communication has helped you guys become closer. And lastly, just one more question is, how do you get to know a person better?
Ooh, okay. In what context? In like a loving relationship or like friendship, or
Any. We have like 1 minute, so
1 minute.
say your quick answer.
I just think getting to know them, know a person better, is going out and doing like fun activities with a person and getting to know, doing things that they like, and then you guys doing things you like, and understanding that, just spending time in asking questions. I heard one podcast and it said that a lot of people, when meeting people, it's like, what's your favorite color? But he's like, wrong question. Like, that is not an important question. You should be asking like, what does your future look like? Or what do you like to do? What are your hobbies? When you ask those type of questions, you actually get to hear more about what the person, who they are, how they are, versus like, what's your favorite color? Red. What does red do? You know?
Yeah, exactly. I've seen that in TikTok. It's like, I don't want to hear about what's your favorite color. Like,
yeah,
that.
You know what I mean? And it's so true.
Yeah.
Because if I asked you what's your favorite color, what is your favorite color?
Blue.
Blue. Okay. Well, actually, my favorite color too. But you see, that's it. But if I asked you, like, Annalie, how is school going? How do you like it?
It's going on.
Yeah, what's going? You know, you get more of an insight, and then you can get to know each other better.
Yeah. Well, I want to say thank you so much for being on the show, Santi, with me. And I think you did really great with that 1 minute round, speed round. But we hope you guys enjoyed this show. I think it was very nice to end with a light conversation, because the beginning was heavy, but we hope you guys did learn some stuff. And yeah, let us know if you guys have any songs that you want to play on the radio. And if you need any resources that we did not list, let us know so we can send it out to you guys. But yeah, that's all from us. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we hope to see you next week.